Can you just verify that for me, Sam, please? Can you hear me okay?
Yes, all fine.
Okay, right. Well, thank you very much for that introduction, Sam. And first of all, I'd like to welcome you to this QA Tech Week section on user state virtualization using UEV version 2.0, which is a product that you can get from the the Microsoft Desktop Optimization Pack. Before we start on this session, there's just a few bits and pieces of housekeeping that I want to share with you. We seem to have a bit of a tech. There we go. Right. Some housekeeping. As Sam already mentioned, the session is being recorded, and a link will be sent out to participants early next week. But if you do have any questions regarding this event, either, as Sam said, post it in the chat window, and what I'll be doing is at the end of each demonstration, I'll be passing back to Sam to see if there's any questions that need answering. Or you can email us at techweek@qa.com. But if you do that, we're expecting, because we have a number of sessions this week, we're expecting a large number of questions to come in through that email alias. Can you just put on the subject of the email my name, which is Mark Cresswell, and the session name, which is UED. Okay, and that will help us sort those questions out for you. As I said, Sam will be monitoring the question window, and I'll be passing back to Sam at the end of the demonstrations to see if there's any questions. Okay, the objectives for this 90-minute session, it's going to be around about 60 to 90 minutes, somewhere between those time frames there. The objective of this session is to learn how to use user environment virtualization and how we can use it to enable smooth switching between devices and keep the user experience the same. So what we'll be looking at here is an alternative, I suppose, to roaming profiles that we all know and love and hate. But UEV is a more granular offering and also spans the different types of technologies that we tend to access our desktop through these days. So we can have our user state follow us based on our Windows desktop, whether it be on a proper desktop machine or through a virtual environment using either terminal services, using VDI environment, or even using application virtualization, where those of you who know AppV will know that it stores its settings in a obfuscated place, and it's not easy to roam settings between AppV and normal desktops. Well, this tool will hopefully help us do that. I'll go through the installation process, and we'll see it being installed on one of my virtual machines in my lab environment here, and then we'll configure it so we can sync both desktop and application settings between different environments. I do have AppV 4.6 and 5.0 set up, so we can see the settings being synced between those environments as well. We'll also discuss some of the configuration options as well that we need to consider when dealing with application virtualization. We'll also learn as well that with UEV, there is no management infrastructure that we need to put in place. We manage it using our traditional management infrastructures that we already have. So there's no heavyweight back-end servers that need to be put in place for UEV. It's just purely a client process that is configured through templates, which we can push out through a network share, and we can configure our agents through either group policies or through configuration manager. So those tools that we already probably would have in place. So what we're going to look at next is some of the benefits of using user environment virtualization. Microsoft have written this product with the goals to make it very personal and flexible. And what we're looking at here is the ability to be able to choose which particular settings we want to roam across between our operating systems and our applications. We also Microsoft wanted to make the sync process more smarter, okay, and not delay the logon process or the application launch process. So what we're actually replicating here is at point of logon, we'll be replicating the desktop settings and accessory settings, etc., that we have chosen to to roam for us, and at application launch we will be synchronizing those settings from a network share as well. The idea of the product is to make it extensible as well. So we have some built-in templates in the product which will enable us to roam certain default applications from Microsoft. These will include Office applications, and recently Microsoft have published on the template gallery on TechNet, which we'll have a look at a little bit later, the Office 2013 template for UEB. The templates themselves are customizable. We don't have to roam all of the settings that are in the template. We can edit them. We can delete some of the settings that are available to us, and we can add additional settings should we so wish. And we can build our own custom templates as well. They provided a tool that enables us to, with our line of business applications, to capture the setting locations for those applications and build a template. There's also the ability to roll back an application to its initial settings as well. So should a user get tied up with the settings and maybe configure the application to a state that they can't find their toolbars anymore, then with a simple PowerShell command we can roll back the settings to its initial state. And the idea here, as I said, is to use existing deployment technology to deploy the UEB client, okay, and the templates, and to synchronize the settings as well. Microsoft have also developed the Configuration Manager 2012 desired configuration management pack for UEB. So this will help us make certain that the client configuration itself stays within the specification. So those of you using Configuration Manager, there's a DCM pack available for this as well. There's also seamless integration with the Microsoft Desktop Virtualization products. And this is what I see one of the major benefits of UEB, is that we can roam settings between a app-v environment, be it app-v 4.6 or app-v 5.0, and standard desktop or terminal services or a virtual desktop environment. So if our users are accessing applications through various different parts of technology, then hopefully we should be able to synchronize their settings and enable them to switch devices seamlessly. So how does UEB compare to other state solutions from Microsoft? Microsoft over the years have developed a number of technologies that enable us to migrate user state between different computers. It started off with roaming profiles, but those of you that have used roaming profiles will know that roaming profiles itself, although quite a good idea, in practice it became quite impractical. And to overcome some of the impracticalities of roaming profiles, i.e. the size of the profile, they got so large, Microsoft implemented folder redirection. And then folder redirection, in order to give us an offline version of the folder redirection, we would use offline file support. So combining roaming profiles, folder redirection, and offline file support, okay, was the initial Microsoft user virtualization components. So they still exist today in roaming profiles for Windows 7 and roaming profiles for Windows 8. We see roaming profiles for Windows 7. We have the ability to roam settings between multiple computers. There's little configuration needs to set up. It's all done on the server back end. We just enable roaming profiles through group policies, and we can configure folder redirection through the same mechanisms as well. Roaming profiles for Windows 8 also includes management of roaming profiles through Windows Management and Implementation. Gives us more control over this process. And we've also got support for what's called the primary machine Active Directory attribute. This is useful when working with Windows 8 machines, okay, where we have maybe multiple machines available to us. With Microsoft account, this is the Microsoft Live account, enables us to synchronize various settings between our SkyDrive, etc. And then we have UEB at the end there. And you see that UEB has the majority of ticks in the tick boxes. So it enables all of the things that we can do with roaming profiles and the Microsoft account. The only exception to that is we don't support the primary machine AD attribute. Okay, and also we have to be domain joined as well. So there's no support for non-domain joined computers with UEB. Okay, but other than that, then we cover all the bases with UEB. So when do we need to use UEB then? When's a good idea to use UEB? Well, one of the things that UEB does offer us is a very granular control over which settings to run. These include both operating system settings and also application settings. There are, as I've already mentioned, there are a number of templates already built into the product, okay, which will allow us to roam some of the built-in applications and office applications, and we can extend those templates, as we'll see in a moment, by creating our own custom versions. This is really useful if we've got a mixed desktop environment where we're both mixing physical and virtual desktop, be they traditional desktops or a VDI environment or a session-based session-hosted or terminal services environment, and even when we're mixing app-V as well. I particularly like this product because it does allow me to roam my settings between app-V 4.6, 5.0 and standard physical and other virtual desktop technologies without having to go out and purchase third-party products to do that. So what happens under the hood in UEB then? UEB is a very simple agent that we need to install. Okay, what the agent is doing is being configured by templates to monitor various registry and file locations. Okay, and when those locations change, the UEB agent will replicate those settings, synchronize those changes up into what's called the settings store location. The settings store location is typically a file share. Now, it can be your user's home drive. So if you've got a user's home drive set up, then the default is to sync to the home drive. If you're not using home drives for users, then it's simply a matter of putting a share in place. Now, if you are using a home drive, then you would already probably have met headlong the challenge of keeping that home drive available in an enterprise environment. So what we need to make sure is that the drive itself that we are sharing, okay, is highly available to our users. So in order to do that, we can use technologies such as distributed file system to replicate a folder between different locations. So as a user roams from one location to another, okay, the folder is available to them at that location without having to cross a WAN link or a slow WAN link. However, UEB is a lot more frugal in the amount of bandwidth it requires, unlike some of the other roaming profile technologies from Microsoft, in that we only synchronize the settings we're interested in at that moment in time. There is an offline capability with the product as well. So we support replicate that.
Sorry, Mark, your audio's just broken up a little bit there. Everyone on the call, bear with me just a moment. Hi there, Mark.
Okay, right. So I think we just had a quick switch of headset here because I think my microphone was a bit playing up there. Can you hear me now, Sam? Hello, Sam. Can you hear me? Sam, are we ready to go again? Sorry, I do apologise about that. We seem to have had an audio problem there. So hopefully you can all hear me now, okay? So what I was saying there is that UEV is more of a lightweight experience when it comes to synchronizing settings between the folder share and the actual client itself. And if you already have some kind of replication technology in place for replicating your home drives, etc., then we can use the home drives. But you may need to think about some kind of enterprise replication technology for replicating the storage location settings. Okay, now what actually gets replicated from the client then are basically just the files and the registry keys, and they're sent up to the storage location server and stored as a single file, okay, that contains all of those settings. Ideally, we would set up the storage location server with a subfolder for each user, and we can use the variable percent username percent in doing that. Okay, so first thing that happens then is the setting location template that describe which registry keys and files to monitor is downloaded into the application virtualization client, the user experience virtualization client. The application process will then start monitoring those applications and those settings and those files, and during the application launch, we will download the settings from the settings storage location, okay, and merge those into the client, so the application will run with the new settings. It will do that only if the settings have changed. So we'll realize whether or not the file has been updated on the setting location server. So we only pull down the changes, the files that have changed since the last time this program was run on this computer. So the agent hooks the application and monitors those settings. Setting package is then synchronized, okay, from the storage location, okay, and then we collect and apply the settings before we launch the application. Now, in order to prevent a long delay in application launch, if the second storage location is not available, there's a very aggressive timeout on the process. So if the application itself cannot contact the storage location settings, and we have offline capability enabled, we have a sync enabled on it, then what we can do is we will use a local copy of or local cache copy of the settings. Okay, and this will be updated on a regular basis. There is a scheduled timer job that will run to synchronize the storage location, setting storage location on the server with the local copy of the cache. Now, if our computers are never going to go offline, or hopefully never going to go offline, so for example, in a session host environment or a VDI environment, or if we're just using a fixed desktop plugged in at the office, then we can disable that synchronization process, and every time we'll just pull down the settings from the storage location. Now, if we do that, if there is a long delay in getting the settings down from the storage location, then we can notify the users that delay. There's a trigger, usually about 10 seconds or 5 seconds, that we can set through a group policy that will warn the users that we're having trouble getting the latest settings. if there's an issue there. Okay, so now we've been talking about UEV, let's have a quick demonstration. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off by installing the UEV client, okay, on my client 1 machine here. In order to install UEV, okay, we have to have .NET Framework 4.0 installed or later, and PowerShell version 3 or later. I'm just going to pin my PowerShell here to the taskbar. Let me just launch that for a second. Right. Now, at the moment, UEV is not installed on this machine. Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to install the UEV client on this machine. I have the UEV client already distributed to my lab file share here, and if I go into UEV, go to the installers, do 0, I'm running an x86 client. So we have 2 setups. We have an agent setup, which is typically what we'd push out to our end users, and we have a tool setup as well. So I'm going to install both agent and tool on this machine. The tool allows me to create my own settings templates. Okay, so we'd normally just put that on an administrative computer. Okay, so we launch the setup. It just takes a few moments to install. I think somebody's still getting problems with my sound, so it looks like we're not in the best environment here. Okay, so it booted in. Right, so the process of installing, this will install both the agent, okay, and it will also install a client control component as well. So we'll have a look at, it's called the company settings tool. So we can basically manage the settings ourselves through that. So let me just lock this machine back on again. Now it's going to restart. We do have to restart at the end of the installation. So now we have the UEV installed, and we've now got this box come up saying sync setting is now enabled. Click here for more details. So this is the company settings center, and we can see at the moment that I'm syncing my desktop settings, my ease of access settings, and my themes. And if I drop down the list here, we can see the list of application templates, the default ones that are in the product that are currently enabled. So we can see Office 2010 and 2007 featured prominently in that list, as well as Internet Explorer settings as well. Now, as I said earlier, we can add our own applications to this list, so any line of business applications. I can also configure these settings through group policies as well. There is a group policy template we can download. Okay, that will enable us to set these on. We do have the ability to do a sync now. Now, the problem I've got with UEV is that out of the box, it doesn't actually do anything. Okay, we do have to do some configuration, some post-installation configuration for this product to actually work. So those of you that have tried it and failed miserably, okay, it's because you've missed some very important settings off that need to be set. So we can set these through PowerShell. So I'm going to run PowerShell as administrator. And what I'm going to do now is, if I do a get -UEV client configuration, it lists the current configuration. Now, there's 2 things that I need to do in order to get this to work. The first, I've got to specify my settings storage path. Okay, without a path set up, okay, it will try and use home directories. If I've got no home directory, then the client's not going to work. The second problem I've got is the sync method. The sync method is currently using the inbuilt sync provider by UEV. As I mentioned earlier, in UEV version 1.0, that used to be offline file support, and people were reluctant to deploy offline file support simply to get UEV to work. So Microsoft have included its own sync provider. Now, the sync provider, as it stands, okay, is configured to sync every 30 minutes, which is not an ideal situation when I'm trying to demonstrate this in a live type environment while switching between machines. If I go into the task scheduler, okay, we will see that now UEV has been installed, there are a number of scheduled tasks been created for UEV. Okay. The important one here is the sync controller task. Okay. If I open this one up, okay, and go to triggers, we can see that this is triggering at logon and then repeating every 30 minutes afterwards. Well, actually, that's not strictly true, because if I look at the trigger here and edit the trigger, we can see that we actually delay it for 30 minutes after logon. So this is one of the things that catches a lot of people out, is that if I'm leaving it to use the default sync provider and I'm trying out a UEV, then I must wait 30 minutes before logon before I'll see any effect. So quite often, okay, it's useful to remove that initial delay. And then as we switch between machines, so long as I log out and log in, then we should synchronize the settings. Alternatively, I can ignore using the sync provider completely. So if my machines are connected to the network and we're not going to roam with a laptop, then typically I would disable the sync provider. And I do that by simply typing in the set-UEV configuration. Now we can set configuration options either on a per user basis or a per computer basis. I'm going to set this for the computer, and the setting I want to change is the sync method. So sync method, and I'm going to set it to none. Now by setting the sync method to none, this is saying don't bother creating a local cache copy of this. Use the settings straight from the settings store. So that way I don't have to synchronize the settings between the settings store location and the actual client itself. So now if I check the UEV configuration, okay, we can see that I've turned that to none. The next thing I need to set, of course, is my sync path. So my sync path, my settings storage path. So that can be //dc1 / settings store %username %. Now I'm currently logged onto this machine as Adam. Okay, so what should happen is a folder called Adam should become created the first time we save something back onto the settings store path. So let me just check the configuration again now. So now we have a settings store path setup. Okay, and we have also disabled the sync method, so I'm not going to be troubled by those 30-minute delays between settings. Okay, so now then, if I bring up an application, so let's go into good old control accessories and go into calculator. So here's my calculator. Calculator, as we can see, is one of the applications that we are synchronizing our settings for. So if I go into view here and I change the view to a scientific basic view and shut the application down, now if I go and visit my settings store, we should now have a folder for Adam, we should now and a settings store package location, and in here we've got a one for calculator 6. So in here we have a pkgx file, which is the file that contains the settings. These settings then are obfuscated inside this file. It is possible to actually examine the content of this file. There is a PowerShell command that I'll show you a little bit later that will show us the settings that are stored within that particular file. Actually, I can do that now. So if I do you want to know what the PowerShell commands that are available to you are, if you do a get - command, okay, right. Okay, so Sam just told me again that we seem to have a problem with the audio going in and out at the moment. So what we'll do is, before I have a look at the, well, let's just have a quick look at the commands that are available to us, and then we'll just call a quick break while we see if we can sort the audio out on this control. So bear with me 1 second. If we do a get hyphen command, okay, minus module UEV, then this shows us the commands that are available to us to manage our UEV client. And the one that basically will show us the content of the file is the export UEV package. So what we're going to do now then is, well, before I demonstrate that, we'll just have a break for about a minute while we'll see if we can sort out the audio on here.
Okay, everybody, we apologise for those minor audio issues there. We've resolved the issue now, so I'm going to hand you back over to Mark, who's going to take us through the demo. Okay, over to you, Mark. No. Just to update you, everybody, we're just resolving Mark's audio issues now. If you just bear with us, thank you very much. We'll be back online in just a minute or so. Thanks. Hello, everybody. We apologise for the delay there. I believe we're ready to take it away again. Thank you for your patience, and I'm going to hand you over to Mark.
Okay.
Okay, Sam, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Yeah.
We're using the input.
Okay, Sam, can you hear me now? Okay.
Yes, thank you, Mark.
Okay.
Okay, thanks. Right. Okay. What we'll do then is, well, thank you for that break there for while we sort out the technical problems here. We seem to have a problem with the device manager on my computer here, not picking up the devices properly. So what we're going to do now then is we'll go back into the demonstration. Okay, and what I'll do is on my client one machine where we've just installed UEB. Okay, what we'll do is we will do the command and we'll export the configuration out of that UEB package. So if I do an export command, UEB package minus path, and we'll go to the DC1 / settings store / add-on setting packages, and the one we're looking for is calculator version 6, and there we should find the PKGX file. Okay, and this is now showing me the actual registry keys that we're getting for calculator. So here you can see there's a registry key, HKey software, Microsoft calculator layout, and the action is to create a key, okay, with a value of 0 in there. And also we've got this other key here, which is the placement action, so that's where it's been placed on the window. So by setting it to default, okay, I set this value, this layout value to 0. So that's the registry key that's being captured for us. And this is quite a useful debug aid, okay, in being able to see exactly the settings that are inside that PKGX file. We can also then compare that to the one in the local cache if we're using the synchronization method. So there's a local cache, which we probably won't have on this machine because I've changed the setting now. So let me just go and see if it's still there. You'll find it under Program Data, Microsoft, UEB. Okay, no, we don't have the local cache in that. So there'll be a local cache created in that folder, okay, if I was using the sync method. So you could then compare the settings in the two to make sure they are being synchronized properly. So a useful debug method. Okay, so now we've got this set up then, and my calculator has been set to, what setting we set it to now? I think we set it to, yeah, scientific view, wasn't it? So we set it to scientific view there. So now what I'm going to do is, let me shut that calculator down, is I'm going to switch to another virtual machine now. Okay, and that virtual machine is virtual machine number 2. It's currently stopped, so let me start this one up. Into full screen mode so we can see it better. Okay, now that's started up. Now that's started up, we're just going to log that one in. And we'll fire up calculator. This one has already got UEB set up and configured. I'll just check the settings on it. So get -UEB configuration. And we can see it's using the same setting store path, and the sync method is none. So we're using the settings directly from there. We're not caching it locally. So hopefully then, if I now fire up my calculator, accessories and launch calculator, we see it's come up with the scientific view. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn back to Programmer View now, and at the same time we'll put some date calculation worksheet on the end of it as well. So now if I save that, and now switch back to my client 1 machine, and if we bring up calculator again, we can see now we've preserved the view there as well. So we're back in Programmer View, and we've got date calculation window open as well. So those settings are then being synced between the two machines without any problem there. If I go back into the PowerShell on here and I quickly go and export those settings again, you can see now we've got a few more keys being captured. The date and time worksheet is being shown, okay, and unit conversion. So we've used the unit conversion one, so it's captured those settings and applied the appropriate values to them. Okay, so that's a quick demonstration there. So what I'm going to do now is go back into the slide deck, and I'm now going to throw it open for any questions. So Sam, do we have any questions at the moment?
Okay, then we've got some questions coming in. So Charlotte has asked, is UEV able to synchronize PST file types?
So can you repeat that one for me? What file types were that?
Is UE-B able to synchronize PST file types?
Was that VFT?
PST.
Okay, I'm not getting you very well, Sam, I'm afraid.
It's just in the chat window there, Mark. If you're
okay, just put it in the chat window. What was the file type? Can you just type it into the chat window for PST? UEB is really for settings. The PST file is the file that you'd be using for Outlook. The problem with PST, it's going to be a very big file, okay, and you really don't want that going across your network. PST files should not be networked shared at all. So I would be reluctant to include a PST file in the package. Another question is, how does it compare to third-party tools such as AppSense? Yeah, AppSense as a third-party tool is an enterprise technology. So AppSense and Res are two tools that are out there for profile management. They do offer a lot of granular control. However, they are very heavyweight tools. They require database backends, they require a management server, so a whole new infrastructure has to be set up for those. Whereas UEB is, as I said, the design for UEB is supposed to be very lightweight, okay, using traditional technologies for deployment, etc. and whereas AppSense and Res covers a lot more in the way of settings, etc., then UEV does compare. So long as the settings that you want to roam are capturable by the UEV, then it is a good alternative in that. Email signatures and second mailboxes.
Okay then.
This is looking at things like Outlook, isn't it? So to be honest, I've not used it for syncing mailboxes or PSD files. I don't think it's a technology that we would want to use for syncing things like mailboxes. But signature settings should synchronize, yeah. But I can verify that and get back to you on that one. So what we'll probably do is put out a document or something with the video, okay, to answer some of these questions. So I'll need to verify that the email signature will synchronize. But a second mailbox, okay, won't be syncing. Any other questions there, Sam?
Nothing coming in at the moment. Oh, actually, bear with me. Just as I say that, I see a question pop up. So, James Murray has asked, what considerations should be taken when integrating at-the applications, specifically custom templates and at-the application upgrades?
Okay, so what you're looking at then is upgrading from 4.6 to 5.0, I assume. The problem we've got with the UEV is that it doesn't detect settings changes on the same computer using, for example, a local installed version of an application and an at-v version. So if you've got the same application installed twice on the computer, now if you're migrating from 4.6 to 5.0, then that will be the case. It is possible to sync at the 4.6 settings, okay, while you're doing your migration to 5.0, providing you between shutting down the 4.6 machine is you bring the application up on another computer first, and then bring the 5.0 version of the package up. I know that's not an ideal solution, but you know, you might be able to spin up a virtual machine that users can, you know, VDI machine that users can log into during the transition period, just to save their settings for a particular application. It would be nice if it would handle that, but unfortunately it doesn't. It will sync settings between 4.6 and 5.0 so long as they're on different machines. Okay, but if you're migrating from 4.6 to 5.0 on the same machine, then I'm afraid that doesn't happen. Now I can demonstrate the settings later on going between 4.6 and 5.0. Okay, so long as they're on different machines. So I'll do that in my next demonstration. Okay, any other questions there, Sam?
Nothing coming in. I think we're good to go.
Okay, so I'll get back to the answer about the email signature and second mailbox. I'm pretty certain email signature will synchronize, but I'm pretty certain the second mailbox is won't. So I'll come back to you on that one. That will be the definitive answer. Okay, so let's go back into the slide deck then and have a look at deployment. Just close the chat window down. There we go. So deployment then requires us initially setting up the settings store location. So and then we're going to be looking at the configure workstation agent, and then we'll look at creating setting location templates, and then deploying and managing our own setting location templates. Okay, UAV does not include any server components, so there are no server components required for UEV. Okay, the typical package size of the UEV package is round about 3 to 5 megabytes per user. So again, it doesn't take up a great deal of space, okay, on the storage location path. There are two types of storage location. As I said, we could use the Active Directory home directory. So if a user already has a home directory, then there's nothing to set up on the client. The client defaults to the user's home directory if there's one configured. Or we can create the settings storage share. Now, when creating the settings storage share, if security is a concern to you, and it should be, then the SMB settings should be accessible by all users. Microsoft do have on their TechNet the actual permissions that we need to set. In fact, I've got them on the slide here. The SMB permissions should be, everyone should be set for no permission at all. We should set up a security group for UEB users and grant them full control to the SMB share. The NTFS permissions underneath, however, need to be a little bit more tightly controlled. The creator owner group is given full control to subfiles and files only. And the security group for our UEB users is given list folder, read data, create folder, and append data permissions on the actual folder itself. That way, if we're using the %username % method for creating the subfolders for each user, then when the user creates that folder, they become the owner, so they end up with full control on their folder. Everybody else just gets a list, read, and create folder at the parent folder level. More information can be found at that Microsoft TechNet article, okay, which the link is on the page here. Okay, so let's have a look at how we configure the workstation for the UEB agent next then. The UEB agent itself will install on Windows 7, Server 2008 R2, Windows 8, Windows 8.1, and Windows Server 2012 R2. It works on both 32-bit and 64-bit architecture, and we do need PowerShell 4.5 or higher for our Windows 7 Server 2008, or .NET 4.5 for Windows 8 and Server 2012. All versions that are supported by UEB require PowerShell version 3 or higher to be installed. It's installed through either an EXE or MSI, so we can push it out through group policies. There are a number of command line options that we can use to pre-configure things like the settings path, or we can push it out using configuration manager. We need to decide where our settings store path is going to be, and it will pre-check for a .NET and PowerShell, but there's a note put there that says we do not require offline file support anymore for 2.0. So it can be turned on, but it's depreciated in this product. Not being used anymore. Here's some examples of setting up the agent setup.exe acquired. I will just use the standard defaults being enabled, and we'll be using the user's home directory for the setting store path. If I want to provide the setting store path, there's a switch option on the EXE that I can pass the setting store path location to. So there's an example there. And we can also disable the sync method by just simply putting sync method equals none in there, and that turns off the sync method. Per user enablement, okay, we can enable sync on a per user basis. So as I said, there are computer settings, and a lot of the settings are also replicated on a per user basis. Now, unlike standard settings where the computer normally overrides the user settings, UEB is the other way around. So if any setting that is different when applied to the user is different to the computer, the user overrides the computer setting. And that is also true in the group policy area as well. So again, when we normally apply group policies, we normally say that unless we have loopback enabled, the computer settings will override user settings. This is not the case for UEB group policies. The way the UEB agent has been written is the client setting, the user setting will override the computer settings. Okay, so by disabling it on a per user basis, we can deploy the agent, okay, prior to enabling it for our users to use. So we can deploy the agent in our gold image, ready for us to deploy UEB at a later date, simply by then changing the option to enable sync. Okay, so the next one we're going to look at then is selecting and creating the setting location template. Now, I haven't configured the setting location template yet. We're using the default built-in templates. But what I can do is I can set a location where we're going to store the templates. The templates themselves are basically a list of registry keys and file locations that we are monitoring for this particular application. Templates are XML formatted files, okay, and they contain information that will uniquely identify the application that it's monitoring. So that will include information about the application version, etc. They also contain all the locations for registry keys and file-based settings that are going to be captured as part of this process. Now we get some default ones installed for us by the installation process. So these are installed on a per client basis. So we get the Office applications and browser settings, WordPad, Notepad, Calculate, some of the basic applications that are installed in the operating system. We also store the desktop settings like Start menu, taskbar, folder options, regional and language and background settings, and ease of access use. So these are the default inbox templates, and they'll be installed on each client machine. What I can do is I can set up a location whereby we can have custom templates stored. Okay, and this location is then synchronized with the client on a daily basis. So typically about 3 o'clock in the morning, or the first time the workstation starts up. After that time, then we'll go and check the template path to see if there's any new templates that we need to download into the client. Now, when I set this location up, I can also specify whether to override the local templates as well, in which case I need to copy the local templates up into the custom template directory. This then allows me to customize the default templates that come with the product, okay, and then push those out to all the clients. It is possible to force the client to read a template. We can do that through a PowerShell commandlet. Okay, so we can point it to the location and say, go and register this new template without having to wait the 24-hour period. Or we can simply run the task scheduler the scheduled task job now, and that will download the latest templates. There's a generator tool that we can use to create our own custom templates, okay, and put that into our template location, okay, and then we can synchronize that with our clients. Now again, all of the settings that we can set for our agent, those settings that I've been setting through PowerShell, can also be configured through a group policy. So to create a custom template, then we use the tool. I'm going to demonstrate this tool in a moment, but the tool basically will monitor the settings that the application loads during its launch and writes during its shutdown. Now, in most cases, that will capture all the settings, as most times when the application starts up, it's going to read all of its settings from either the registry or a configuration file, as in the case of Calculator. However, if the application doesn't, then we can force it to look at that location by simply going and checking that particular setting within the application. So long as, while we're doing the monitoring, the application references that particular setting, and it will become part of the template. Now, the template itself, okay, is an XML file, okay, and the XML file itself can be edited. You'll notice there is a schema for this XML file, okay, at the location, the settings template XMLNS location. You can download the schema from that location at Microsoft. Now, the schema itself, the XSD file extension, is used by tools like, for example, XML Notepad, in order to validate any editing that you've done against the file itself. The template generator will do a quick validation check against the file for you to make sure that the file matches the schema. However, it won't actually tell you what errors are in it. So we'll just say, yes, that's a good file, or no, it's not a good file. whereas XML Notepad will highlight the areas for you that are in error. Now, in this particular example, we can see we have Acrobat Reader, and we've got the major and minor version of it, so that helps them identify the executable that's going to run, the program name itself and its version. So this is how we recognize that this is the program that we're monitoring. And then we can see we've got some registry keys, path, recursive, true, and we're registering the software Adobe Acrobat Reader 10. Now, the keys that we monitor are all HKey current user. There is no HKey local machine keys being referenced here at all. So it is all user-specific settings that we are monitoring here. So this will be HKey current user software Adobe Acrobat Reader 10, and we've also got HKey current user software Adobe Common Files Usage Reader 10 as well. Okay, there's also a file being monitored, okay, which is in the app data, which is the user's profile app data section of the user's profile. So that path is also being monitored as well. Okay, so we're looking for any files in there that are changing. Now, it is possible for you to edit this yourself, and indeed, whereas this is grabbing the whole of the registry keys under that path, we can be very specific about the registry keys that are actually being monitored. In fact, if I go back into one of my virtual machines here, so if I go into client 1, okay, and we look at a settings template, which you'll find under program data, Microsoft UEB. Okay, here we've got the templates folder, and if I go into something like Office 2007, for example, and open this one up with Notepad, you can see that this is obviously a far more complicated file than the one we were looking at in the slide a moment ago. But here we can see we've got a registry path, but very specific keys being monitored within that path. So whereas before, when I looked at that other setting in the slide, it was just the whole path and all the keys under that path being monitored. Here we're looking at those specific keys within that path above. So we can be very specific about the settings that we are roaming for this user. And if I don't like some of these settings, I can just hack them out, and they won't be monitored, okay? And they won't be roaming. But if I do make an error with the file, if I then try and validate the file, it will error on the validation check. So if I remove an end tag, for example, by mistake, okay, or spell one of the tags incorrectly, then that will be picked up with the validation check. Okay, so let me just quickly switch back into the slide deck. I think the next thing coming up is, yeah, customizing templates. So we can manually edit those XML files, or I keep mentioning that we should validate it against the XSD file, which you can download from the Microsoft Schemas website. As I said, manual template settings that we can edit are things like the registry and file exclusions, architecture separation, shell process designation, file and registry paths on known folders and registry values. So these are the types of settings that are stored within that template file. So how do we deploy and manage the location templates then? Well, we can create a central catalog, as I alluded to earlier. We can have a share on our server that will enable us to distribute these templates from. Templates are placed in a common location. The agent will pull those down. Again, there's a scheduled task that does that for me. So again, if I just quickly switch back into my computer here. So, right, so if I go into yeah, we're looking at the timer job. So if I show you the timer job that is going to pull those template settings down. Again, all of these timer jobs you can configure through various PowerShell scripts. So if you're pushing out using configuration manager, you can create a deployment script that will change the setting on these jobs. So at the moment, the template job, there we go, template auto update is going to run at 3:30 every day, once a day, or at system startup if we miss that trigger point. I'll show a slide a second. So catalog considerations then. We need to decide whether or not the inbox templates we're going to leave as default or whether we need to customize them. If we're going to customize them, then we can disable the inbox templates and copy them up to our template catalog directory, okay, and then customize them there and push them out as we would any other custom template. So if we are going to create our custom template for our line of business applications, then we need to place them in the catalog location so they can be installed. So let's do a quick demonstration then of creating a custom template. So what I'm going to do here now is switch to my client 2 machine. Okay, my client 2 machine has the generator installed on it. So as you read, the custom Microsoft User Experience Virtual Generator. I don't appear to have on this machine. Let me just quickly install. I'm going to install another program on this machine. So we're going to have a line of business application on this machine. I do apologize. I thought I've got this installed, but I'm just going to quickly install on here XML Notepad. So XML Notepad, then just take a few moments to install this. Okay, this is the program I'm going to create a custom template for. XML Notepad isn't in the default list of templates, so we need to create a custom template for this. We'll just accept end user license agreement, and we'll just do a default installation. Okay, so we can use the custom generator then to create a settings location template, to edit an existing template, or to validate our existing template. So finish this installation. So to create a settings location template, then we click the link, and the first question it's going to ask us is the path to our installed file. Just waiting there. I haven't installed yet. Right, it was a very quick installation. That's done. Only I had seen the user account control box in the background there. So there's my XML Notepad, and what I can do is I can bring XML Notepad up. It does take a few seconds to launch for some reason, but it does that normally. It takes about 10 seconds to fire up. If I go to View and Options, we can see there's some options in here for indent level. If I change the indent level from 2 to 4, okay, and what I can do is I can disable updates as well. So I'm going to disable the updates on this. Now, this particular application does not use registry keys to store its configuration, and instead it uses a configuration file. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to monitor this program, okay, and see if it will pick up the actual file that it uses. So what I need to do is browse to the executable. In this case, the executable is going to be in the program files directory. If we go to program files, and we should find XML Notepad. There it is. And there's the XML Notepad.exe. I need to open that. Okay, now I can also pass some command line arguments, or if I need to, or specify a working folder. For this particular application, I don't need to provide either of those two bits of information. So when I click Next, okay, and what should happen is it should now launch XML Notepad. Now remember, XML Notepad takes about 10 seconds to launch. It does that on any machine. I think it's probably going out to the net to check. So there we go, XML Notepad is now launched. Now it's discovering the setting locations. And don't you just love a demonstration? Doesn't seem to have found that. So let me just cancel that a second. Cancel that again. What I'm going to do is I'm going to close this down. I'm going to close this down. I'm just going to fire it back up again without XML Notepad running in the first place. So let me just bring up the generator again. Browse to the executable. So there's the executable, and just open that. And click next. So as XML Notepad starts, we should discover the files and registry keys that it reads. Well, not as the case might be. We shut the program down. There we go, it's done it now. Right, so I've got to fire the location up, and I've got to shut the program down, and now it's discovered the keys in the file that it's using. So my bad there, I should have closed the application down. If I read the screen, it would have told me. Click next. So now it's standard registry keys and non-standard registry keys. So it's found some registry keys that are not application. So these aren't being captured by default because they're not part of the program. So we are reading these registry keys, but they're not specific to this application. So I don't need those bits. But it hasn't found any registry keys that it's going to use. For files, okay, there's nothing in the standard path, but it has found some files under the user's app data. Now, this particular application, this XML Notepad, stores its configuration, okay, in the folder user profile, under the user profile app data local folder, okay, which isn't possibly the best place for it to store a setting. That is generally a global setting. Certainly, the global setting for disabling updates should be a global setting, but it seems to be doing it on a per user basis. So what I need to do is I need to capture that particular folder. I don't need desktop ini or any of those, so I'm going to gather that as a non-standard location where it's storing things. For this particular program, not as well written as it could be. Okay, it's storing stuff in a location that isn't being monitored as a standard location. So I'll just capture that. Okay, so and then click create. Now I need to save this somewhere, so it's going to be called xmlnotepad.xml as the template. So I have a location already set up for that. //dc1 /settings templates, and there's one already in there, but I'll overwrite it with the one I've just created. So there's the one I've just created. Click close. So now in my settings location template, then I've got my XML Notepad template saved. Now I can validate the settings of that. So by hitting the validate button, and it should tell me that yes, that is a valid template. So if I were to make any edit changes to that, and I made a syntactical error in the file, then this is where it would tell me that it's not valid. Okay, so that's the location. Right, so now I've got that template set up. Okay, I need to make sure that my clients are using that template location. Now, the easiest way for me to do that quickly is to set all this up through a group policy. So let me quickly have a look at group policy settings that we have available to us, okay, for UEB. I've already set up a group policy up for UEB, okay, but it's currently disabled. So let me just edit this policy, and we'll look at the settings that are available to us. And I'm going to set it on a computer basis rather than a user basis. So every user of this computer will get the same setting. We're going to admin templates, Windows components. I've downloaded the template itself from Microsoft's download site. You'll find that the UEB template for group policy, the ADMX files, is available in the m.doc version 2 template download. Now I'll give you a link to that in a moment. But here, if I open up, wrong place there. If I go to Microsoft UED, that's better. Just into standard view there so we can see everything. We can see I've enabled a number of settings already. So I've enabled some contact information, okay, for UEV, contact URL, sync provider. So do not use the sync provider. So I'm turning that off. Okay, so that's set to none. But I've also set up the storage path location here, and I've also set up a template path location as well. This is where we can choose to replace the Microsoft templates or not. Okay, and that will mean we'll disable the Microsoft templates on the local installed and replace them with the ones in the setting template location. I've also enabled the systray icon. I've also turned on synchronization settings for Windows. So we're running the Windows settings, the desktop settings, the ease of access, and the things as well in here. Now, because these are being set by group policy, okay, the ability to turn those on and off is going to be removed from the company settings center on the client. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to simply enable the link. So that link is now enabled. So now if I go back to my client 1 and client 2 and reboot those, it will pick up the group policy, and because the template is going to be downloaded on first run, okay, then it should pick up the templates for me as well. So that's client 2 rebooting. So we can get back to client 1 and reboot client 1 as well. Unfortunately, the restarts are quite quick on this machine, so it will only take a few moments to do that. Okay, so we've now client 1 rebooted. Remember I did all those settings on client 2. If I run PowerShell again, what we can do is do a get -uevt for templates, and this shows me the templates that we have available to us, and hopefully we should see XML Notepad in the list. I don't seem to have picked it up yet. So what I can do is if I go into the task scheduler here and UED, let me just run the job. I'll run that now. Okay, so now hopefully I'll do the same command again. We now see we've got the XML template loaded on this client machine. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to my second computer, which is computer 2. Delete. And even. Right, we'll just see if the template's loaded on this one. Yeah, so let's just run the task scheduler. And run the scheduled task. Let's just run the template job. should have done now. So now we've got the template loaded on this machine as well. So the templates have now come down then. So now if I bring up XML Notepad, this is on our client 2 machine. We should see that XML Notepad, I've got the settings under options. It's preserved the indent 4 and we've disabled the update. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the indent to be, say, 6. Okay, and click OK on that. Shut that down. Now if I now switch to my other computer, go back into client 1 machine, and if I bring up XML Notepad on here, we should hopefully see that it's preserved that indent of 6 for me. Options, index of 6. Right, I'm going to leave that set to 6, and what I'm now going to do is I'm going to switch to client 3. Now on client 3 we have UEV installed, okay, and XML Notepad is installed as an AppV 4.6 application. So that's going to run systray, the AppV, the Microsoft Application Virtualization app launcher for 4.6. And I'm just going to check that we have the configuration is set. Oh, no, it's not picked up the configuration, so I'll need to restart this machine. So it gets the group policy applied. I'll just do a quick restart on this. And then log back in. And just to make sure we got the template downloaded for XML Viewer, we'll just run the task scheduler. And we'll go to the UEV template task and we'll run that. So the XML Notepad template has been installed and registered on this computer. Okay, so what I'm going to do next then is I'm going to launch XML Notepad here. Now, the actual settings is stored in a file, okay, which is in the user profile. What I did when I sequenced this application is I included that file as part of the package. So what I did, I set those values to be indent of 4, and I set the update to be disabled, auto update to be disabled. So what you see now is that even though I'd set that to 4 and disabled, we can see now the indent level is 6 because it's preserved the settings from the UEV environment. So even though this is the first time I've launched this application, okay, since this machine was since this application was installed or deployed using AppV, it has picked up the settings for me. Now, I also have that application in AppV 5 mode as well. So what I've done is I've converted the AppV 4.6 package to 5.0. And what I can do is if I need to run PowerShell as administrator, if I now deploy the 5.0 version of this package, okay, I'm going to use PowerShell to do that. So I'm just going to get -appv client package command. Okay, this takes a couple of moments to run. We've got to install the module first. And we should see that the AppV50 package is currently not installed on this client machine. Okay, so there's no AppV client packages. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the AppV client package. I'm going to do this through PowerShell. It's quicker than me firing up the management console for this. So add AppV client package -path //dc1 / my package library. I have a folder called converted, and in there I've got my converted AppV46 package being converted into 50. So in there we should find the AppV file. Now, because this is a converted package, okay, I need to deploy this with a dynamic deployment configuration file which has the settings in, so it will update the 4.6 version to 5.0. So what will happen is when I publish this package, we will seamlessly change the shortcut to do the 5.0. We'll take over the existing shortcut. So need a dynamic deployment configuration file to do that. It's in the same location. Package library, converted XML notepad, and it's called XML notepad deployment config. Okay, so now I've got to publish this. Okay, so right, so with that now published, okay, if we'll close that down first. Hopefully, that should now be pointing to the AppV5 version of the program here. So it's not running the SFT tray command anymore. It's now pointing to the actual XML notepad.exe in the AppV5 cache. So now when I launch this, it will be the AppV5 version, and hopefully you'll see it loading quickly down the bottom there. But because I'm launching this on the same machine, the 4.6, UEV has not detected any change in configuration. So therefore, it's using the configuration that was built inside the package. So now if I go back to options, you'll see it's 4 and false. So it's not remembered the 6. And again, if I now close this down, okay, unfortunately, that's now replicated that setting, okay, to all of the other instances. So if I now switch back to my client 1 machine, and I bring XML Notepad back up again, I'm just conscious of time here now. We're just overrunning a few minutes, probably because of all the audio hassle that we had. If I now go into here and go to options, well, it hasn't actually done the settings there for me, so it's not saved the setting. But if I change this now, this view, options, so if we set this up to say 8 with an indent, okay, and close that down. I've got a horrible sneaking suspicion I've left it running on the other machine. Oh no, it's not running there. So now I'm back on client 3 again. Okay, so this is running the AppV version 5. Go to launch, go to view, options. So remember the 2 is slightly out of sync here for some reason. Okay, so that's indent level 2. Let me change that to 6. And shut this down. And actually, I'll change it to something we haven't used. Let me change it to 7. Okay, so it's not running on there. Just switch to make sure it's not running on client 2. It's not running on client 2. Let me just now switch to client 1. and we'll just have a quick view of the options here. And now it's gone to 7. So it's going backwards and forwards now between AppVig 5 and a local installed version. And we saw it went from the local installed version to AppVig 4.6 as well. The only problem I got, it didn't preserve it during the conversion from 4.6 to 5.0. But had I changed that setting in 4.6, gone to my client 1 machine, opened up XML Notepad, and just saved it back again without any changes, because it would have updated it on here. Okay, it would then save it back again on the settings store. If I then converted the package and opened up in 5, it would have preserved the setting. Okay, so there is a sort of workaround to that, but it's not very practical, I don't think. It does require you having another machine available to open the application up on. Okay, so what we've done now then is, let me just go back into the slide deck. We're almost done on the slides now. So I don't know, I think I'll bypass this question and answer and leave it to the end. So we'll just go through the last few slides here. Management, we have the company settings center. So if we so allow, okay, we can let the user decide which settings they want to sync with us. Now, I can enable or disable each of these and the templates through group policies as well. If they're set through group policies, then they will be grayed out here. They'll show you what the settings are, but the user will not be able to make the changes. Okay, so or we can allow the user to change that. So this is a tool that gets set up. Now, again, I can disable this tool completely, so the user doesn't even see it. If I've configured the help information, then that will be displayed on the tool as well. Okay, so you'll get some information in this location as to help desk information and a URL to go for more information. As I've mentioned, group policies allow me to configure both on a computer or user basis the UEV client at a very granular level. You can download the ADMX version 2 templates for MDOT from the tinyurl.com mdot-admx2, okay, and that will be the latest templates. That also includes the templates for the 5 Service Pack 2 as well. Okay, so there's been some updates to the templates for Service Pack 2 in that bit. Settings include roaming Windows settings. Do we roam the settings or not for Windows? And we can override those settings in the company settings control panel. Setting package size warning threshold. So if the packages are getting too big, then we can display a warning for the user, because that will delay the launch of the application if the files are too big and the amount of time it takes to pull them down, especially over a slow WAN link. Synchronization timeout settings. So if it's taken too long to synchronize, then we can time out on that as well. The storage settings path location and the settings template location as well can be set. There is, as I've already mentioned, available for Configuration Manager. There is a DCN package that you can download. Okay, that will help us remediate any client settings that have deviated from the settings that we wish to be applied. So it's a bit like an enforcement through group policy, but not using group policy. We're using this desired configuration management module within Configuration Manager to make sure the settings haven't deviated from our required settings. However, if you are setting the storage path or the template path through this method, because this requires values to be poked in, we do have to do that through a script to enforce those. There are a number of PowerShell and WMI commands. So for each PowerShell command, there's a WMI equivalent that we can pull. So let's have a quick look through, first of all, setting preferences. I've already hinted that the preferences, the order in which settings get applied for UEB seems to deviate from the norm in that user settings override computer settings. So any PowerShell commands, okay, if we apply to the local machine by using the minus computer switch on the setting command, then they can be overridden by settings that are set at the user level through PowerShell. So I use the computer user switch instead of the computer switch to set the configuration. So therefore, the user settings take precedence over computer settings. And again, if I set it through group policy, anything set through computer, which gets to HP local machine software policies, Microsoft UEB agent, will be overridden by user settings. And again, that is not the norm, okay, in group policy. Normally, computers override user settings, not the other way around. So the order in which they get applied is PowerShell or WMI settings, computer first, overridden by user, which can be then overridden by group policy settings, and then user settings at the group policy level override the computer settings there as well. Okay, the PowerShell commands themselves are in what we call verb-noun syntax. The verb to the left, followed by a hyphen, followed by the noun. So the verb is the doing word, the noun is what we're doing with. So we have UEB AppX package. This allows me to control the Windows 8 AppX packages. Now, when it comes to package settings for Windows 8 App Store packages, applications, you have no control over what settings run. Okay, that is defined by the developer of the application. Okay, so we will honor that information and run the settings that the developer says. But what we can do is we can enable or disable it on a per AppX package basis. So we can get, enable, disable, and clear the settings. So get the settings, enable settings, disable settings, and clear the settings, which basically resets them all back to their default. UEB configuration. Here we can get the configuration. I've been doing a few of those commands during the demo, so we can see which options are available to us. We can clear the configuration, export it. That's useful if I want to transfer the configuration from a test to a live machine, and then I can import the configuration. And we can set a specific configuration option. With UEB templates, we can get the template, we can enable and disable each template. We can register a new template, unregister a template from the store. And if the template has been updated on the system, we can force an update with the update command. And the test the validation of the template to make sure it's not broken. We can do a get UEB template program, and this shows me the program or programs that are referenced by the template. I can do a repair template index. What happens is the templates themselves are stored as XML files and are copied down to the client. If for some reason there's been some kind of synchronization process there, we can go and resync that by doing a repair template index. User settings, we can restore the user settings for a given application. So this restores back to their default settings. And finally, we can export the UEB package. So I can export the information in that PKGX file, okay, and see the content of it, as we did earlier, looking at the registry keys for calculator. So this brings me to the end of the presentation for UEB. I do apologize for going over about 10 minutes, but we did have a few issues there with the audio halfway through. I hope the audio has been better now. And we'll throw it open now for questions and answer session. Okay, have we still got time for that, Sam?
Yes, absolutely. We haven't actually had anything in just yet.
Okay.
Actually, Nick Thompson has suggested, bear with me just a moment and I'll share this with you because he's actually given us a hyperlink. Yeah. So bear with me, I'm going to pop that in the chat window for you. There we are, Mark, that's just come in. So Nick said we implemented UE-V 2.0 last month and found an issue with some Office components.
Okay.
It's just giving us a
is that a template update, or is that a hotfix for the actual agent itself? Well, I can look into that. I'll look into that one. But it looks like there is an issue there with Office. It doesn't specify whether that's Office 2010 or 2013. As I said, Microsoft have only just released the templates for 2013. So it looks like there is a hotfix then that we might need for that. Okay, so thank you for making me aware of that, Nick.
Thank you, Nick. Okay. All right then. So if anybody's got any questions, now's the time to ask.
If not, well, thank you very much for your attendance, and I do hope you found it useful and instructive, and at least you've seen UEB working now and synchronizing between at least a standard desktop and various versions of AppV. Okay, so if there's no more questions then, thank you very much.